All right. Remember, of course, last week we told you of the harrowing story of a family who are now faced with the awful scenario of having an 11-year-old daughter who is also pregnant. So yesterday, no bail, with a chance echoed by protesters outside the Boksburg Magistrates Court. And of course, you can imagine the outrage. The 28-year-old man accused of raping the girl was expected to plead for bail yesterday, but court proceedings were postponed due to a question of media access. The case will resume tomorrow, but the family, of course, is still fighting for justice. So we thought we would catch up with who we are calling Naledi's mother, who was indeed at the appearance yesterday. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us once again. Firstly, I suppose, before I ask you anything else, how are you coping? And importantly, how is your daughter?
Good morning, Bongani. I'm trying to cope. I'm trying to cope with my daughter as we are waiting everything to be solved. We are not strong enough, but we are getting there from the support we are getting from the community and from the people who are there to support us.
I understand you've pulled her out of school now?
Yes, she's homeschooling now.
How was it in court yesterday?
Yesterday, everyone was there, people who came to support us. We got a lawyer who was on our side. He pushed everything. We were able to talk to prosecutor who helped us to listen to our side of story also and what we need. Also, we managed to talk to investigator officer. We gave them some proof which came out recently. We provide the proof which they are doing the follow-up on them, which is going to help us on our side.
What was it like seeing the suspect yesterday, the accused?
Horrible. Every time I see him, I feel bad, I feel depressed, but at the same time I need to be there and see the justice is being done.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on the story. And of course, a big part of the postponement yesterday was the media being granted access to this case. Concerns because your daughter is a minor, but we feel strongly that the public needs to know about what happened to your daughter so that it doesn't happen to others. We'll keep an eye on developments, and we are certainly wishing you strength. And would you give your little 11-year-old girl a big hug from us?
Thank you. Thank you, Bongani and viewers, for your support.
Thank you very much. Difficulties like no other, I think. A mom dealing with the rape of her 11-year-old who is now also pregnant, and the accused in the case appeared for a bail hearing yesterday. Listening in on that is the head of advocacy at Women and Men Against Children Abuse, and that is, of course, Luke Lamprecht. Luke Lamprecht, I beg your pardon. We've spoken to Luke many a time before. Luke, a very good morning to you. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. This is probably one of the worst stories I've come across. You do this kind of work every day. Did it give you the chills too?
No, absolutely. And good morning, Bongani. Look, there's multiple things that give you chills in this case. You know, the betrayal of trust of a family friend, an early pregnancy, which is obviously one of the things that can happen in abuse, what's going to happen with the pregnancy. And then also very disturbingly, you know, the fact that the family believe they have to hire a lawyer to have their side put across, when actually the prosecuting authority should be putting the side of the victims across. We've heard the president talk about GBV being the second pandemic and making our system a victim-centric approach, which it appears we're not making any progress towards at all.
I mean, when a family is faced with a crisis like this, and perhaps you don't have the pockets for legal fees, are you on your own? How much support is there for families that have to deal with this kind of challenge who maybe don't have money?
Look, I believe, we talk about two-tier justice systems, and I believe there's definitely a two-tier justice system in this country, both for offenders. So if you are a wealthy offender, like we've got one we're trying to extradite to the UK, who, is fighting in every court in the country, and he's got very deep pockets, so he gets things that people who didn't have money wouldn't get. And sadly, equally for victims, because you expect that from a defense system, but equally for victims, I mean, we've got a case of a young girl who has spent literally half of her life in court. She was abused at 7, she's now 14, and her case is still not yet complete. And, without watching briefs, it just appears that there is sort of no looking at the impact the court system has on the victims and their families, and no consideration for those families unless you have money to get someone as a watching brief to come in like this family has.
How important then is media access to cases like this to put a spotlight on the process, on the justice system itself, but also to expose the prevalence of this kind of thing?
I think it's absolutely essential. I think the media obviously does need to be ethical, and generally media houses like yourselves and, traditional media are very ethical because they don't want to cause further harm to children. I don't know any media people like yourself that I work with who are willingly wanting to cause harm to families and children. In fact, on the contrary, as you say, I think they are trying to A, expose the issue, but B, hold government accountable because, we can't hold government accountable as the public until we have media houses who are making these issues public.
How does an 11-year-old child recover from this, if at all?
Okay, so the first thing we need to say is that we need to always believe that people can recover from abuse. So that's the first thing, because otherwise, these young people get death sentences, much like, saying that, someone has died and can never recover. People can recover from abuse. The thing it does take, though, is it's the entire community to be involved in that recovery. Firstly, the parents have to be okay. So it's incredibly important to support parents. And, in the history of my work, what I have found is that if we support the parents to support the child and the parents don't implode, then the child's chance of recovery is much, much, much higher. If the parents implode, the child's chance of recovery is much, much, much lower. But added to that is a sense that there is a sense of justice in the world, that my voice was heard, that when I go to court, somebody listened to me and believed me, and that the person who harmed me, the government has said, they did the wrong thing. And I believe that the criminal justice system is a big part of the healing, but can equally be a part of the harm. And I think also how cases are reported on by the media, like you are now, when that child one day maybe listens to something that was said about themselves, that it is reported that, we believe in the bravery of these children, and, we believe that they can recover because we as a society are there to support them. So it takes literally an entire system for that healing to happen, including obviously professional support like therapy.
But Luke, where are we going wrong when it comes to these sexual assault cases, particularly when they involve minors? I don't have the stats readily in front of me, but it feels to me that it's a persistent issue. Why are we failing these children?
Look, I think that we're failing our children on a variety of levels, and I think the sexual assault of children is one of them. I mean, we also, discarding our children in the streets, illegal abortions, children being murdered, so there's a variety. I mean, basic rights of children not being met. So I think it's a pervasive thing where we as a society just do not actually value children, and where we talk about these principles like Bonapele and we talk about child participation. In truth, is children have almost no agency in the world unless there is an adult there to assist them with that agency. And we keep talking about, for example, telling children to say no to adults when we don't even allow them to say no in safe contexts. And then when they say no, we don't listen to them. And why are we in a world where we are teaching children to say no to adults who want to abuse them, rather than raising our children in a world where they never have to say no to adults?
All great questions. Appreciate your time as always. Luke Lamprecht is the head of advocacy at Women and Men Against Child Abuse.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.